Your thoughts on today's result?
Yeah, wonderful victory here. The tough environment, tough team. Very, very talented Columbus group. They've made some good additions in the off season to reinforce this group. We had our own problems coming into the game. The guys that stepped up were immense. And I think all in all, we were the better team first half. They were the better team second half. And the one Alex Muyl goal that separates us is a great feeling, because I think we've been in some good positions. We've been denied victories for different reasons. And tonight we've been able to get it across the line, and I think the guys deserve that.
Thank you, Coach. We will now get the media availability started with questions from Ray Hills from the Tennessee. Go on with Tim Sullivan.
Gary, congrats on the win. Obviously, up against a Columbus team that you guys have battled with since you guys have come into the league. So congrats on that. I just wanted to talk with you about the rotation for tonight, not just with Taylor. Obviously, Alex has been coming off the bench, but Jack Mayer and guys like that. Talk to me about why, aside from replacing Dax, was it time to maybe get some of those new guys in there? And what did you think from how they came out and helped you guys get the win tonight?
Well, there were different reasons and different thoughts, of course, behind each of the inclusions tonight. That 2 or 3 of them we're seeing for the first time this year. What we know is that they're more than capable. They've shown that on numerous occasions before. In Taylor's case, Daniel Lovett's picked up a knock in training this week, and to be honest, he was very, very keen to be part of it, but it was my decision to say that this was probably the time not to put him at risk. I always felt that Walker and Annabelle would have an inclusion in the game. We were going to allow the game and the performance, the situation to dictate that for us. And, you know, it would seem that the last 20 minutes now was a good time to give the group a lift with some fresh legs and a bit of experience. In their absence, Jack Mayer was arguably man of the match. There were 3 or 4 candidates for that from my standpoint. And Brian Nunga was he almost feels like he hadn't skipped a beat. You know, he has not played in the group, started in the group this year. But what we know of Brian is that he's immensely competitive, very, very capable. And it's a tough task to come in when you've been sitting on the bench, you've been getting, you know, next to no minutes, and now you're asked to be the main man. And he was absolutely terrific tonight. And for Alex to score the winner is just the icing on the cake. You know, there were some wonderful flashes of what he might offer us out on that right-hand side against Salt Lake. I thought him and Randall combined ever so well 2 weeks ago, which, you know, gave me food for thought about continuing some of that relationship building, and for him to score was wonderful.
Thank you, Coach. A reminder to those new in the chat, please raise your hand if you have a question for Coach. With that, Tim, go ahead, please.
Hey, Gary, it looked like Alex had a little bit more freedom to get high up the pitch and inside a little bit, and obviously that's kind of how the goal ended up coming about. What did you see from the goal play specifically, and what kind of was his role in those early stages before you guys were playing with a lead there?
Yeah, look, Alex is at his best when he has the field opened up to him. You know, he really doesn't want to be, you know, kept in a small box and having to think about where he's going and what he's doing all the time. He's, you know, we have to offer him the ability to show his energy and his competitive nature. And he had a little bit more license to get up the field, to get some pressure on, and be that hybrid defender, midfield player on the right-hand side. The first half, it worked a hell of a lot better than it did in the second half. But when called upon to defend, when called upon to offer us some balance as a fullback rather than a midfield player or an attacker, he certainly dealt with that admirably. The difficulty for us, and I think him in the second half, was trying to find those moments to just get a little bit higher up the field, be a little bit more disruptive. I think the natural course of events is obviously to protect at that point, and the guys, I think, had found a bit of a comfort zone in absorbing pressure, counter-attacking, which we haven't seen an awful lot of that in the first 4 games. I thought some of the defending was really, really good. But then again, Columbus did a very good job of finding some space, certainly in the wide areas, and some really, searching crosses that they were unable to get on the end of. So in the end, I think we, we showed all of the qualities that was necessary away from home. And as I've said before, I'm delighted that, we've been able to turn this one our way.
Tim, please go on with your follow-up.
Yeah, Gary, you kind of alluded to it there a little bit in terms of how the second half played out. Were you kind of white knuckling it through much of the second half there? And then, of course, what is it like to be able to bring the captain of the United States and the captain of Panama off the bench to kind of help you see a game out?
Wow. Look, the second half reminded me an awful lot of the game here last year. And Dax played as more or less as a centre-back, popping into that front screen. And we drew in 0-0, and the final exchanges that they were in total control of, and had some moments that kept us on the edge of our seat. I think what we've shown here tonight is that, number one, we're more than capable. This is the 4th game out of 5, I would say, that we've not only shown a bit of a cutting edge. First half, we could have been more than 1 up. We had some good chances. I've seen a picture of the goal that wasn't given, and I guess they have a better angle and a better feel than me, but it looks like a goal. So we certainly pushed the boundaries. And the second half, we had to show all the resilience that's necessary when you're in the midst of an 8-game away stint. So it's not easy. It certainly isn't. And the guys have shown immense character tonight. These are a good side, a really, really good side. I like a lot of the players that Caleb has. They go about their business well. They've got great dimensions to the group. They've got good power in certain areas, and certainly magnificent quality and athleticism in others. In reference to you, bringing the 2 guys on, I mean, the timing of that was going to be important. You can imagine for many different reasons that the emotional and physical toil on both of those guys has been heavy for them to bear, for different reasons, of course, in the last couple of days. And I have to say that the character of the pair of them is truly they're two of the most genuine guys I've ever met. The discussion with them on Thursday, they landed late, both of them. They came in at midday. We had a chat. Both ultra keen to be part of the group, to help support the group. I felt myself that the discussion wasn't necessarily to put them in, or felt as though it was to put them in to the starting group. But and I'm sure everyone else that got on the field tonight were absolutely delighted to see him come on for the last 20 minutes. They truly are captains in their own right, and it was probably what we needed at that point to see us across the line.
We will conclude today's time with Coach with a question from Drake Hills. Drake?
You've alluded to it a little bit in terms of obviously the first 4 games and now going into this win tonight. going into this one and perhaps what you told the guys in the locker room, is this a chance to maybe look at this next 3 before you guys finally go home again, as the chance to maybe put the first 4 aside and obviously take a look at using the momentum of this win to go forward?
Yeah, look, there's an awful lot of ways that people can look at having such a stint on the road, but having no experience in such a long away spell, and hoping that it doesn't ever happen again. The picture for all of us that I felt was the best one to create was clearly to compartmentalize everything that went on and keep it as clean and concise and surgical as we could. Because there are so many aspects of being away from home that are difficult. Travel, fatigue, mental emotion of playing in front of away fans all the time, different surfaces, home teams that are inspired, a confident team tonight that are unbeaten. Every team that you play against thinks they can win the championship. There are so many that make life incredibly difficult. And it's easy to look at the game before, get despondent, and let that emotion roll over into what happens next. And we've had some things that we've spoken about we want to try and achieve outside of points. This isn't just about playing games. We want to put ourselves in a position, not only in the league, but I think mentally, where the players feel confident. There's still plenty of belief in the team, in the way that we're playing, in what we're trying to achieve. So, tonight is a big lift. It was a lift that was needed after a couple of defeats that, quite frankly, the second one, I felt as though we were a tad hard done by. But it is what it is, you've got to get on with it. And tonight was always going to be an immensely tough game. And we've overcome that. So that'll be a huge shot in the arm for the group. But the challenge next weekend will be a completely different one against a team that, are starting to turn their season in the right direction, and one that, a team that are always in the playoffs. So if anyone expects it to be easy, then it's not going to be. But this will certainly give us an opportunity to regroup, feel good, and go again.
Alex, congratulations on today's goal. Please tell us how the goal developed and your thoughts on today's game.
So Taylor kind of was breaking down the left side, and we've seen it so many times what he does. He drags him down the line and kind of puts in a good ball. So for me, as the opposite side wing back, I know I have to get in the box if I want to, be dangerous, be a threat. So Santos kind of slipped, which was unlucky for him, but the quality of the ball, I think I would have got a chance anyway. But for me, it was just about hitting the target. Those balls, sometimes it can be tough because it doesn't come with so much pace, so you have to kind of just guide it. And luckily for me, it had some spin on it, and it made its way into the far post.
Thank you, Alex. We will kick off the media availability with a question from Dre Hughes from the Tennessean, followed by Tim Sullivan.
Yeah, Alex, I guess you kind of described what swaz means at the end of that answer. But just taking a look at how that lead going to the second half meant for you guys. Obviously, you've played here at Columbus before. I'm sure you remember last year. You talked to me about the pressure and what it took for you guys to consistently defend in that second half as they kept coming.
Yeah, obviously when you go ahead early away from home, it can really invite a lot of pressure. I've seen so many times in my career, whether we're at home and we trail early, or if we're away and we score early, it can be difficult because then the home team has the onus to really come at you guys a lot, and the natural response kind of is to take on a lot of pressure. I think this team is uniquely set up to be able to take that pressure and then create other chances based off of it. So it's not the worst thing for us, but I do think another step in our progression will be to, as we go away from home, especially in this run of games, if we score early, to somehow continue to go forward and get chances. Now, obviously we did do that and we created some chances. And I think that on another day, maybe we're 2 or 3 goals up at halftime. So while we did have to take a lot of pressure and kind of survive in some moments, we were able to do that. And you know, I think that this was a really prototypical kind of away performance for us.
Team.
Yeah, you talked about the ball from Taylor, but I couldn't quite tell. Could you see Santos fall in front of you? And then from the time that he falls to the time that you head it, did it feel like forever? Because it felt like forever watching it. And then was there almost a temptation to try to play it across the CJ instead of go for goal?
Yeah, I think that it was one of those, you know, like the ball didn't have too much pace on it. It's a great ball, but it was one of those things. Yeah, it can almost make it harder sometimes because you have so much time to think and weigh your options. I'm thinking, should I chest this? If he slipped, should I be chesting this? Should I, yeah, he's trying to set it across for CJ. Ultimately, though, I think, you know, when I get into those positions, sometimes you have to take the responsibility yourself. And that was my thought. I'm just going to try and get good contact, aim for that far post and see what happens. And luckily it went in. There's been a lot of times in my career where, you know, it's gone just outside of the post or the goalie gets a save. So it's just one of those things. You have to try and do the right thing and you can live with the consequences.
Claudia Villalobos with the next question, followed by Drake Hills with a follow-up.
Thank you, Christina. Alex, what was different today? I mean, usually because of what happened with the previous games, I think maybe Columbus thought that it was going to be not easy, but it was going to be able to take the victory here at home, especially because they were undefeated. What do you think it was different today in terms of, besides your goal and the effort you guys did? What was very different today that didn't allow him to even score? Didn't pretty much do anything against you?
Well, I think you see in the run of play that we're actually really good defensively, and our Achilles heel has been set pieces. I think that's not, you know, it doesn't take a genius to see that. Today, I think we were unbelievable on set pieces. We didn't give up as many. We still gave up a few, but when we did give them up, there was a real energy in the group and a real spirit to try and to make sure that we didn't concede in that kind of manner. I think that Walker is a big presence, and we went about 60 minutes, 70 minutes without him in there, and we were still able to survive. So that's a lot of credit to the coaching staff. We've really been obviously working on that this week and before that, but also to the players. You know, it's a mentality thing. You know, it's not really about performance and individuals. It's about a group mentality and a group mindset when you go into that situation. And obviously when you start to concede a lot of goals on set pieces, it can become a vicious cycle where because you're so nervous, you let in more goals. But today, I think that we all attacked each ball and just made the most out of each situation, and obviously didn't give up as many set pieces as we have in the past.
Great. With the next question, and then we will conclude today's media availability with a question from Tim Sullivan.
Thanks, Chris. I wanted to ask you, Alex, just does the win over Columbus, obviously the results that you guys have gotten against them previously, this is a bit of a milestone. Does that mean anything to you guys, or is just another win on the table against another team? And the second question is, you mentioned kind of in the last answer, but Jack Mayer coming in, Brian came in. These are guys who haven't gotten the most opportunities on top of Taylor, obviously, but they come in and made a big impact on the match. Can you talk about what's been going on behind the scenes at training, the international break, you know, being able to take that time to get ready for tonight?
Yeah, so for the first part, obviously, you know, we have history with Columbus. They knocked us out of the playoffs in our first year. And, you know, that always hurts. I think we have a lot of respect for them as a team. And but beyond that, you know, there's no animosity or anything. So I think for us, it's just good to get an away win. And for the second part, yeah, I mean, listen, Brian comes in and does an absolute job. Jack, I think, maybe deserved man of the match. He had 3 unbelievable blocks that I think could be easily have been goals. So Jack deserves a lot of credit. He's a young player trying to break through a back line that is very established. And we have a lot of, you know, veteran and kind of stalwarts there. So it's been difficult, I think, for Jack, but performances like this are going to do a lot for his spirit and do a lot for our team in general. You know, sometimes we're going to have other guys play. And for Jack, that's today was a really big statement, I think. And, you know, Walker comes in halfway through and he adds another thing. So the more good players we have playing well and the more good performances we can put together, it's obviously going to be good for the entire group. We're going to raise the entire level. And obviously, I didn't mention him, but Taylor is such an important player to this team, both on and off the field. And, you know, he's a talented guy. And I don't think he gets enough credit for the things he does. So it was great to see him come in and do well. He played here last year as well. He played an unbelievable game away at Columbus last year. So a lot of love for all three of those guys.
Team, go for it.
A little New York City bias there with the Taylor love, I think, Alex.
Yeah.
But,
Well, he tells me his mom loves me, so I got it. I love his mom too. She's great.
You mentioned the set pieces and how you guys were able to limit just the sheer number of them that Columbus was able to get today. But when you have that foul at the top of the box, where you have Lucas Zelarayan, probably one of the best free kick takers in the league, standing over the ball, what is your thought process? Are you thinking, here we go again, or are you thinking, what is the thought process, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really scary moment. That's probably one of the only guys in the league that you really back to score almost anytime he's taking free kicks. I think we have one of those too, so that's nice to have. And yeah, for me, I was just talking. I was like, please miss, please miss, please miss. And luckily, we were able to survive that moment. That was definitely something we were trying to limit. But when you're taking as much pressure as we were, especially at the top of the box, that's going to happen eventually. And you kind of just have to live with what happens. Joe didn't have to make a save, but if he did, I think he would have been ready.